For more on this, let's welcome in showing Jürgen Klinsmann joins us, as does Stewart Robson. Hey, fair play. Arsenal got it done.
No, I think the better side over the two legs, although Atleti did, look lively in the first leg in the Metropolitano. But we got what we thought we would get from these two teams, a sort of rugged, sort of grinding couple of games. Not a lot going on in this one, to be fair. That's why, we got a bit out the highlights, but probably got more out the highlights than we could have done. But Atleti just didn't have enough tonight in London to get the job done. And I always feel when Simeone makes as many changes as quickly as he does in second halves of game, they just lose any patterns of play and any shape they have. And it kind of became a bit of a long ball up to Sorloth. And he was flicking it on to nobody because they had he wasn't even flicking it on, he didn't win many headers, but they had no runners. They had no real shape about them, and that they had that one chance that Sorloth had on his favourite foot and he completely missed it, and the Simeone one came from a mistake from Saliba. But I think, over the two legs, the stronger team, the team that will give PSG or Bayern the better game, I think, is probably going to be Arsenal.
Literally the stronger team, because it became at times a pushing match. And in the pushing match, Arsenal was better than Atletico Madrid. The qualities of Arsenal, I think, are there for us to be able to pick them out, but they don't rely so much on those qualities because they fall into this sort of game in which they want to grind and physically go into 50-50 challenges and duels. I think Arsenal has enough talent in them to be able to outplay Atletico Madrid. And they were doing that at times in the first half. When there was a change of pace from Bukayo Saka, when there was a change of pace from Trossard, when there was a change of pace from Declan Rice coming out of the midfield, there's an opportunity there for Arsenal to open themselves up and go and challenge Atletico Madrid and put this game away. But once they scored the goal, it almost felt like Arsenal were content with just being behind the ball, knowing full well that Atletico Madrid were not going to be explosive nor dynamic enough to create chances. And so if we get a chance in transition, if we get out Gyökeres into the channels, of which he was willing to run the whole game, the whole 90 minutes, then maybe we'll run into something. But there wasn't much from Arsenal in the second half to really go and get a second goal. They knew that Atletico Madrid simply were not that much of a threat in the attack. So we'll be here, we'll be solid, we'll do what we've been doing, we'll win 1-0, we'll advance, we'll get criticized for our style, but it really doesn't matter because in the end we're in the final of Champions League.
Not a lot of quality really on show from either side really, Jürgen.
Yeah, I think, both teams went into that game, obviously coming from the first leg. First and foremost, not to concede a goal. That was really, really crucial because they knew that once I concede a goal, I will struggle, coming back into that game because both defensive lines, both defensive systems, they are so intact. They're outstanding, both teams. So to break them down then and come back in a game like that it's going to be very, very difficult. And then you as a manager, you rely really then on a special player. Mm-hmm. And there was in Atletico side, there was no special player today that could make that difference. Sorloth, he was fighting a bit like Gyökeres on the other side. Lookman, in first half, was not even there. We didn't see him at all. And Griezmann, obviously, he ran out of gas and was subbed out. And so that kind of puts you in such a bad position if you are Diego Simeone to kind of come back and to get that goal back. And Arsenal knew that. And Arsenal just, played it very, very kind of dry and almost Italian style with Catenaccio in a little way. And brought home that win. And I think over the two legs, as you guys said, I think they deserve to get into the final.
Robbo, we've seen a lot of La Liga, we've seen a lot of Atleti. This is what they've served up, really, throughout the season.
Yeah, and going back to Craig's point, now he made substitutions and it didn't do any good for the team. The players that came on, so he started with obviously Griezmann and Alvarez up front. At some point he took them off, and so they lost all their creativity in terms of guile or could Griezmann find a pass. They then bring on Sorloth and they play Molina on the right wing and they put Llorente back to right back, so they're not going to get too many crosses coming in from that side. And on the other side they then put Baena on the left hand side. So where were the crosses going to come from? Only from Ruggieri coming forward from left back. So it had no patterns of play, they had no guile, they had no strength really when the ball did go up to Sawlott to make runs off of him, and they looked a very poor side when they needed to score a goal. So Arsenal coasted through that last 20 minutes, I would say, and it was exactly what Arsenal wanted from that game.
And I go back to what Jürgen said there was no, when Alvarez went off, which we believe was...
Yeah, it was his ankle, yeah.
Because we were all sitting saying, why would you take Alvarez off in a game that you had to get back into? But obviously he had a problem. So that was one less player with a lot of guile to worry about. Whereas, and I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but whoever gets to the final out of PSG and Bayern, it's for Arsenal I'm talking about, this is so much more to think about, isn't there? Because there are match winners in that PSG and Bayern teams and those teams from midfield forward all over the place. There are players that are just game changers on game changer on game changer from the middle of the park to the wide position to the strikers on both teams. And Arsenal are going to have to figure that out, whoever it is. They didn't really have to concern themselves today. All they had to do was make sure they had a good shape. Didn't have to worry about people getting in pockets or dragging centre-halves out of position, because when Sawlott came on, it was a battle. You know, and Griezmann wasn't as influential today as he has been for Atleti since Christmas, because he's been really good for Atleti in the second half of the season. But we didn't really see that today. So for Arsenal, it was about having a good shape, seeing the game out. And, you know, you bring Sawlott on, how many crosses, good quality crosses, did Atleti get into the box?
And then when he got it to him, he couldn't kick the ball, which I think is important.
Well, he wanted to get in a fight with Gabriel, and that kind of takes away from your game. But even on the, you know, Ruggieri, we're talking about, you know, Ruggieri, he never even looked like putting a cross in from the left-hand side. Llorente did in the second half when he went to right back or on the right side, but they weren't very good. There was no quality on them. They didn't even get past it.
Atleti aren't very good.
No, but you expect in the semi-final of the Champions League that both teams have spent a lot of money, and both have deep squads. You're expecting a little bit more than what you got, particularly, and I'm not talking about Arsenal because they're in the final.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Atleti when they go 1-0 down and they've got to chase the game. There was never any play where you went, if they keep doing getting in those spaces, playing those little 1-2s and getting the full back in behind, if they keep doing this, it'll come. It kind of felt like it was, pass a few balls around at the back, nothing on, launch it in the channel, let Sawlott chase it, see what comes in from there. Really, really disappointing from the Spanish team.
When it comes to Atletico Madrid, and I think we've come to learn this, they need an emotional edge. And usually that emotional edge for them comes from, is the other team Barcelona? Is the other team Real Madrid? Other than that, these are the sort of performances that we see from them. When they play against Osasuna, this is what we see from them, that they don't quite have that level of energy and intensity and get close to people. And you saw Diego Simeone desperately in the silence trying to bring the team up, but you cannot manufacture energy, you cannot manufacture intensity when you don't have any sort of success going forward when you do have the ball. They were unable to complete quality passes in the attacking half. They were unable to build in the attacking half, and whenever they tried to do that, they turned the ball over, and then Arsenal is running with Gyökeres on the other side. Atletico Madrid could have been out there the whole night, and they were not going to score. Never felt like they were about to score. This is as comfortable a second leg at home as Arsenal could have hoped for, other than scoring a couple of goals. The only thing that made it dramatic is that Arsenal chose to keep it at 1-0 and not go for a second or third goal. That's why there was some sense of drama. We were watching it with a big Arsenal fan right next to us who seemed very desperate for the whistle to be blown. And I'm thinking, we could be here for another 2 hours and Atletico Madrid are not coming close to scoring. Atletico Madrid didn't do enough. Arsenal did just enough.
Yeah, I thought today Arteta out-Simeone'd Simeone.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the way he was running around at the end, it's got to be frustrating, isn't it, as an opposition coach?
I don't think he'll be embarrassed because he just does it all the time. Both are, like, I'm not picking on one over the other, but this is further proof that players have gone soft these days. Because I'm sorry, when Molina or anybody else is running up the right side with the ball, or just about to play the ball that's going out of play and he's trying to keep it in, and you've got this guy half a foot from the pitch. Let me tell you, in the old days, he'd have been taking one. Because you'd have taken the ball, you'd have taken him, and he'd been on the deck. What's the point? What's the point of having a technical area when the two of them are stood with their toes on the white line?
Yeah.
We used to tell the wide players, Get the chalk on your feet. Not the managers, but why don't every league around the world, or in Europe, wherever it is, I don't care, and UEFA, why don't they stipulate? Because it is ridiculous, right? I know we kind of laugh about it, but I'm sorry, when the game's building up on that side, you should not be standing basically on the sidelines. You should be a 3 striking out and banned for a game.
Right.
It's the only way to stop this.
Stepping out your box.
Yeah, not once, but if you're going to continually step out, as I say, 3 times within a game, you're sent to the stand in that game, and if you continually do it, you're banned for a game. It's the only way to stop it.
Yeah.
What's the point of a 4th official? You know, he's got no authority really, other than to say, get back in there. Which I don't even think today's 4th... I think today's 4th official gave up. He just went, oh, what's the point?
Yeah, he looked at...
But it is ridiculous.
Robbo, thoughts?
What is a coach on the side of the pitch to do? He's meant to coach the game. He's meant to give instructions. All Arteta does, I think he's doing it for himself. You know, look at me, I'm great. Look, I run this club. I do this, I do that. It's just absolutely pathetic. And going back to Craig's point, if I was running down the side, I'd make sure I actually topped him as I was going down the side of the field. Tackle the ball and tackle him at the same time. I mean, it drives me absolutely... I got to a stage today where every time the camera went, I had to turn. I just could not watch. Otherwise, I'd have thrown something at the telly. I really would.
But anyway, this season it looked like it was kind of getting up. Sorry, I had someone over there. This season, that 3-4 weeks ago, looked like it may be getting away from Arsenal a little bit. It sort of turned, obviously, with the City result and their result against Fulham, and now they've got over this hurdle, which they were favourites to do so, but they could have made a mess of it. But luckily for them, they were solid, and Atleti were pretty poor. So all of a sudden now, there seems a positive, even though they're not playing brilliantly, there's a positive vibe about Arsenal, about finishing the street season really strongly. Now, in terms of the Premier League games, they, as you said to Stevie, they seem to be a bit of a layup. We'll see if that's the case. The Champions League one, however, that is going to be the biggest hurdle to get over with this final. If PSG or Bayern turn up in the final and play in the manner in which they have in the last couple of games.
No question. Obviously, they'll go into the final as underdogs no matter who they face.